7:14 a.m. September 14th, 2023. I'm going to mention that I was in Sunshine Eve's room again on Flirt for Free or Peak Shows. I kind of alternate between the two. They're the same site, basically. They're just two different locations, peakshows.com and flirtforfree.com. And again, I go to these sites because I have not had anybody to talk to for 6 years due to suppression of truth and my life being suppressed and me being tortured because of staged lies and all the staged lies and theft of my life and all that stuff. So I was in her room again. I was in her room a lot in 2020. Apparently, people were going in there and not being respectful and pretending to be me in 2020 at some point. And at some point, it's like somebody switched one of the frauds, like in 2020, because I had a couple different profile names because I got locked out of my accounts there. Um, she at some point, like, they transferred like my identity to somebody else. Like somebody took over credit for how I'd been with her, like the way I was with her. She brings out a flirtatious uh, kind of flirtatious, um, playful, goofy, almost clownish side of me. Because I like her personality when I'm like that. I have that side of me, and she brings that out, and it makes her laugh and smile. And when I was in there at first, I was in there as a guest as always. I haven't logged in since 2020, June 2020, and there's never been anything between us. There's never been any arguments. She's not a theorist, mentor, blogger, poet. As far as I know, she's never tried to claim that. But so there's no history between us other than me going into her free chat room in 2020. And this guy, Bill, started coming in there, and that just kind of screwed up our chemistry. And I believe someone else was taking credit for who I was before that, because I don't ever show myself to cam models because I hate being on cam. So I've never done that. I've never shown myself to a cam model, not even when I was chatting with the ones in 2012, 2013. So including that Filipina I chatted with for a year. So I was in her room tonight, in Sunshine Eve's room. She's 28 years old. She's blonde. She would look younger probably to some people because she's very thin. Um, so um, anyway, when I first went in there, I was not logged in ever, and my text wasn't appearing on the screen, but she was just laughing and smiling at my comments. And then I was in there for a couple hours, and then after I was in there for, like, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes or so, I cheered her up, and she was laughing and smiling with the comments I had been making. She turned on the comments for the people who were not logged in. And I had just typed something like, if I met you in person, I'd kiss your hand. And she said something like, well, you're very polite, or something like that. I said, oh, yes, I'm the politest. And something like, I'm the most romantic person that's ever lived, or something like that. I don't know what I said. I think it was something like that. And then it's I don't know, something was weird after that. It seemed like, again, she thought I was somebody else, and it wasn't me that was making her laugh that whole time when she had the comments off. So um if she thinks that I've been, like, communicating with her outside of free chat, or not logged in, as I never am, or that I was disrespectful to her at some point, or that I had had some communication with her that I never had, I just like who I am when I'm around her. I can be my goofier self, and again, be playful and flirtatious, and I'm being sincere. I feel that the way I feel about her, and what my comments that I make are what I feel when I'm with her. but there's also indications that she's, telling lies. I don't know if that's true or not, but she may just be being manipulated by the frauds that come in there because they manipulated her. Some guy named Bill or female, I don't know if it was a guy or a girl named Bill in 2020 started coming in there and just kind of ruined our chemistry. But then it also seemed like someone took credit for what the chemistry we had up to a certain point. I had a couple different usernames in 2020, and then after a certain point it seemed like someone else was taking credit for the chemistry we had established and just started using the terminology I'd been using. The terminology I use in cam sites always changes, but the frauds latch on to words I've used in the past and keep using them and try and say that they're me just because they're using certain words. They're unsophisticated, but they're invasive always, and they're into there tonight. And my identity was showing Iowa, not guest user. There was a guest user that came in there and said I love you or something, and then she laughed about that, but I never said that. So I was just being my normal, playful, goofy self with her, and but still sincere. What I say is always sincere, but on any of the cam model sites, I've always been sincere. I'm always sincere in everything I do, and unless I'm obviously joking with somebody, which you might have to know me to understand if I'm joking, but I rarely joke anymore because it gets misinterpreted. I never joke on Twitter. Everything I say on the Twitter is 100% true. Same thing with my YouTube channels. People say I'm acting or working for someone. That's 100% BS. I don't have a boss. I've not been employed since April 2018. So I just wanted to explain that situation. I was when she turned comments on for people that weren't logged in, I came up as Iowa. So normally it's Wisconsin. It's more often it shows up as Wisconsin, and I assume that's because the Wisconsin frauds are manipulating my location. They're in my data as they mine cryptocurrency, buy and sell cryptocurrency with my data since 2018. The frauds from Wisconsin do. I've known that since 2018. That was the indications then. They gamble online. I've never been a gambler. I've never once gambled online. Never been a gambler since high school. I've explained that before. What else they do? Online gaming. The frauds do. The cowardly, no honor dirtbags that altered some of my audio onlys to speed them up to sound like I'm a 20-something jackass fraud, probably one of the motorcycle rider or the fast car driver, altering my audios to try and make it seem like they're the ones playing guitar or they're the ones with my singing voice that they don't have. They're just no talent ass clowns, like I said before. That's a quote from Office Space, the movie, which I used to like that movie. I said that phrase like 3 times yesterday, so I'm sure the frauds probably tried to pick up on that too. But it was indicated one of the fraud singers right after I was in her room between 3 and 6 a.m. I was in her room. I was in there a couple hours between those times on peakshows.com and flirtforfree.com. She didn't get naked or nude or anything. She was just dancing a little bit, and I was making her laugh like I did in 2020, making her laugh and smile, she makes me happy when she laughs and smiles. It's just, I don't know, I have something about a chemistry between us that I like, that I just feel something, it just, I made her laugh in 2020, and up until the point whoever it was took over my chemistry I had with her up until that point, and I lost one of the user IDs, and I think that was probably the issue. Maybe they took it over, and I don't know. But someone else started going in there with one letter different than my username in 2020 and probably was using my terminology that I was using then. But the words I use constantly evolve. So I don't use the word darling. The only people I used that with were, I think, Ella Claire. I used that with, and in 2012 I used it with Elvira, who's now 35 or 36, I believe, and lives in Sweden. She's from Romania. But I wanted to explain that situation tonight because, as I'm assuming, something live was staged about that, along with my audio onlys being sped up now to make it sound like someone in their 20s on the audios where I mentioned my electric guitar or acoustic guitars. So I'm 51 years old. This will be posted on youtube.com/@ I am Wade Heineman, September 14th, 2023, or early AM.